Minister of Aviation, former Minister of Culture and Tourism, and Director of Special Media Projects, Special Media Operations, and New Media of the Tinubu-Shetima Presidential Campaign Council. Thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Thank you very
Now let's start.
Thank you very much for having me.
Let's start with the race to the 2023 elections, which is less than 50 days away. How will you describe it so far?
Well, I'll describe it as an interesting experience, very tough, very hard, people in the field working exceptionally hard, and those behind the scenes also working. A lot of people are involved within the PCC. We have many directorates under the DG, and our candidates and the vice are traveling all over the country. In my directorate alone, we have about 200 people working under me, and we have 4 media directorates. I mean, it's a massive, massive task with, hundreds and thousands of people are involved in the field, and it is a very, very, very excruciating experience. But it's very fulfilling because it's worth it. It's a good one, it's a tough one, but we have an excellent candidate and we're fighting for the future of our country. So far so good, and I'm very, very confident of victory for our candidate.
Right. What then do you consider to be the core issues dominating the campaigns? Nigerians seem not to be getting the issue-based campaigns they desire.
Well, the core issues are very clear. The future of our country. We're fighting for the soul of our country. We're fighting for the destiny of our people. And we're fighting to ensure that we have a progressive, united nation in which everybody feels equal, no master, no servant. Everybody feels they have a future. Everybody believes and knows that at some point or the other they'll have the right to lead and to have a fair crack at the whip. We're trying to create an equitable Nigeria where everybody feels like a true Nigerian and where everybody feels they have a future. We're trying to establish a better economy, a greater nation, better our defenses, create power so that we can have electricity to function and ensure that industries boom and that people can live their lives and do their work and excel in every way. To ensure that Nigeria becomes the Nigeria of our dreams and not what it has been turned into over a period of time by governments from many years ago and from individuals that essentially really did not care. That's what we're fighting for. And I might add that this, I pray, will not be our last opportunity, because if we get it wrong this time and we do not elect Asiwaju Bola Tinubu as our next president, I fear seriously that we will have major issues in this country, particularly if it falls into the hands of a man like Waziri Atiku or Peter Obi or even Kwakwanso. So that's how important this is. And we are not taking it lightly. We're working extremely hard, and we shall excel and we shall succeed in our endeavor. I have no doubt about that.
Okay, now let's talk about the APC campaign. How will you describe the way your presidential candidate, Bola Tinubu, has fared in this race?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite get that.
Let's talk about APC campaign now. How will you describe the way your presidential candidate has fared so far in this race?
I think he's done exceptionally well. I mean, look, he has done more rallies, more town hall meetings, and had more discussions than all the other candidates put together. He has traveled to virtually every state, at least all the states on the schedule so far. And we're on the last leg now. And it's an exceptional thing that he has done. He's done far more legwork, far more hard work on the ground and been focused. And he's doing very, very well. Unlike others that are just attacking and casting all kinds of aspersions on his character, he is simply going over the heads of everybody and going to the field. He's traveled throughout this country. That is his priority, and he has ignored the attacks, the vicious, senseless, and unkind attacks that he has been receiving from left, right, and center from major players in this country. He's remained focused, and when he's had to travel out of the country, he's done so for a purposeful reason, not to just go and look at the walls of the State Department in America like some did. And certainly he went to the UK to Chatham House and did exceptionally well, came back immediately, and went to campaign immediately. I mean, that's what he's been doing all these days. And for a man that has been in politics for the last, 30 or whatever it is years, over 30 years, for him to be showing this kind of energy and power and strength tells you one thing, that he has far more to offer in terms of energy. Because have also been working. Many you don't see, some you see. But everybody is working extremely hard, and we're very proud of the efforts of our candidate and his vice, who is doing extremely well as well.
Yeah, but many Nigerians remain dissatisfied with the performance of the APC-led government. What do you think the administration has done differently to deserve to be returned to power in 2023?
Well, the issue is of dissatisfaction. I mean, there are many reasons why some people may not be too happy, but that comes after you've been in government, for example, for 8 years as a president. You're bound to have a certain level of dissatisfaction. I might say, or I might add rather, that much of that is probably misplaced, because if you look at what the government has managed to do in terms of infrastructure, if you look at what they've managed to do in terms of rice production, we're now a net exporter of rice. Wheat production, we now export wheat. Before we were importing all these things. If you look at infrastructural development, the second Niger bridge and so on and so forth, and look at what's happening. I mean, there are a lot of positives as well, and also the fight against terrorism over the last couple of years particularly has been exceptional. But of course, there are issues, and the most important thing to appreciate is this. We've managed to stay one as a nation. We've overcome all the hurdles. We've ensured that a foundation has been laid for development, real development, in terms of infrastructure and so on and so forth, despite the challenges the economy has faced over the years as a consequence of world events like COVID, the war in Ukraine, and so many other issues, oil prices. So we've managed, or rather the president has managed to establish a foundation. Now it's now left for the incoming president to build on that foundation and to ensure that we really, really do go much further. And that's precisely what he's pitted to do. So to those that say they are unhappy, it's relative. Some are, some appreciate the challenges, and some appreciate the efforts that this government has made. But the most important thing is that what lies ahead is what counts now, and who can build on this foundation. If Asiwaju comes in, he will build on the foundation. If Atiku comes in, he will destroy the foundation. If Obi comes in, he will destroy the whole of Nigeria and not just the foundation. So we need to move forward. He's working hard. He's doing well. He has plenty to offer, great plans for our country, and I'm very proud of these efforts. And by God's grace, we shall prevail, and he shall become the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
All right, then. I would like you to be quite specific now. Now, what do you consider as the big achievements of the APC administration in core areas like security, infrastructure, and...
Well, like I said to you earlier, there are so many things I could talk about, but let me just put this to you right now, okay? The present government, that is the president, has wonderful spokespersons. Garba Shehu, Femi Adesina, Lai Mohammed, my good friend, and so many others that have enunciated this position and what they've managed to achieve over the last few years. I'm particularly impressed with one thing, though, other than the things I've mentioned earlier, and that is the fact that if you look at what's happening in the fight against terror now in the northwest and in the northeast, you'll find that we've made so many gains over the last couple of years, unlike before. Also, we've established the fact that everybody is being attacked by these foreign Fulani killers, and not just Southerners or Middle Belters, and not just Christians. Everybody, particularly the Fulanis of the north themselves, and the Hausas of the north, in the northwest, and the core northerners in the northeast are also being attacked by them and by Boko Haram. And we've come together as a nation, as a government, to fight these people. And they have deployed massive military hardware into those areas, encourage and establish joint task force, particularly in the northeast, and the war against terror has been taken very, very seriously over the last couple of years. And I'm very proud of that fact. That was one of the reasons why I was opposed to this government and the APC before. I felt that they were not doing enough, but they're doing plenty now. So that's just one thing, and there are so many other things. But the most important thing to appreciate is this. We are now about to enter a new dispensation. Mine is to ensure that I communicate precisely what our new candidate under the same platform will be able to do when he comes to power. And I think it's very, very important that people appreciate the fact that the last 7 to 8 years, or whatever it is, the president has been in power. He has done his bit, and he has done as well as he can, and we have to commend him for what he has managed to achieve. Now the baton is being passed on to somebody else who will do a great job and who will continue what President Buhari has managed to achieve, the positive achievements. He will build on that foundation, and he will do a great job for this country. Renewed hope, that's what he offers, and I'm sure he'll do very, very well.
Right. You know, Nigerian youths are about 70% of the entire population, but many of them are still disenchanted with the APC administration. What is the party's message for young Nigerians at this time?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear a word of what you said. Could you please repeat the question?
What is your party's message for young Nigerians at this time?
Okay. Well, let me say the party's message is one of renewed hope and one of the fact that their future is very much at stake, and they have to ensure that they vote the right way to save their future. This country is on the brink. If we're not careful and the wrong person comes in, everything will be destroyed. Everybody will be destroyed. Simply because if you look at the character and the activities of the other two people in this election campaign, you will discover, and look at their record, you will find that they are exceptionally destructive. I have, I call them the good, the bad, and the ugly. Actually, Bola Tinubu is the good. Waziri Atiku Abubakar is the bad, and Peter Obi is the ugly, and very, very ugly indeed. I'm not talking about physically. Very important for us to be able to identify what the challenges are that these people will present, and why I am so afeared and worried that anybody should consider them worthy of being president of the country. And I'm particularly disgusted and disappointed in endorsements being given by some of our elder statesmen to Peter Obi particularly. And I'm thoroughly flabbergasted that anybody would want a man like Atiku to be president of this country, given what we know about him. And I think it's important that I address those issues today, because sometimes it's difficult for people to know what they're dealing with if they don't have the facts. So I'd really like to talk about both Atiku and Obi on this program, if it's possible.
All right. Before then, I know you have repeatedly stressed that Asiwaju Bola Tinubu is the man for the job. But why do you think is the man to beat in the 2023 presidential election?
The only man that's truly sincere about moving this country forward. He wants power for the people. He wants electricity to be generated throughout the country. He has clear, distinct policies that he wants to establish. He has good minds, bright people around him, and that's been proved over and over again by what's happening in Lagos State. He has a record to show that he knows what to do when he's given the opportunity to do it. You know the statistics when he came to Lagos State, what it was, and what it became after his being in power for 8 years, how it generated 600 billion naira internally generated revenue at the initial stage when he first came in, and by the end of it all, before he left, it was generating up to 20 billion naira per month, 20 billion per month, 20 billion per month. And of course, today, it's generating about 70 to 80 billion per month. You know very well that when he first came to power in Lagos State, it was a horrible place in the sense that everything had gone wrong with it, because it was somewhere that security was non-existent, and we'd been through the years of June 12th, and people had gone through hell. But you know what Lagos is today. Today, Lagos has the biggest economy on the third or fourth largest economy on the African continent, massive GDP, everything is transformed. And that's because of his foundation that he built 8 years ago, which was then built upon by Fashola after him. He chose Fashola. Fashola did a great job. Then came Ambode. Then came the man that's there today, one of the best governors in this country, and that's Julius Sanwo-Olu, who has done an excellent job as governor and who's about to go into his second term. That is the legacy of Asiwaju. Quite apart from that, look at the people, his other mentees that are in power. Look at Femi Gbajamila at the House of Reps. Look at the vice president who he nominated. There are so many of these bright stars, his people, his men that are in power today, and they're doing the job. And that is how you judge him. And that's what sets him apart from the others. Miles apart, if I might add. And it's very important for people to appreciate this. He's not there to play games. He's not there to divide his own party. He's not there to run anybody or denigrate anybody. And he has not committed his life and his cause to destroying the lives of others. He wants to build this country. And he's built his party up, united his party, everybody's behind him, and he wants to now build up this country. And I am very, very proud of his efforts, and I'm sure that he'll do a very good job.
All right, Chief Fani-Kayode, tell me, can the APC really win the general election?
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Can the APC really win this general election?
Hello?
Can you hear me now? Can the APC, I'm asking.
That's a good question.
Yes, just go ahead.
Definitely they can win, and they will win, I can assure you. Look at the facts. Yeah. Look. Okay. I'm sorry, I hope I'm not interrupting you, but I thought you asked me whether APC could win the election. So yes. My answer to that is that a positive yes. APC not only can win the election, the APC will win the election, and I'll tell you why. You look at the Southwest, the APC will win, hands down in the Southwest. Asiwaju will win hands down in the Southwest. You go to the North Central Zone, Asiwaju will win in Kwara, he'll win in Kogi, he'll win in Niger State, he'll win in Nasarawa. I believe that he will do exceptionally well in Benue State. I believe he'll do exceptionally well in Plateau. He's going to do very well in the North Central states. You go to the Northeast, simply because he has an excellent running mate in Senator Kashim Shettima. We will win in Borno, hands down. We will win in Yobe, where we have one of the best governors in the country, my Malabuni. We will win hands down in Gombe, where we have a good governor. We will win, in my view, in Bauchi State, simply because I happen to know that the governor may end up supporting our cause. I hope and pray he does so. But I know his views, and I know how hard he has worked to ensure that he makes the right choices for his people. And he knows very well that Asiwaju is the right choice for Bauchi, and certainly not Atiku. So I believe we'll do exceptionally well there. Coming to the Northwest, I believe that we'll certainly win in Kaduna. El Rufai has done a great job working hard. We'll win in Kanu. Matawale is the greatest of them all. We're going to do very well in Zamfara State. We're going to do exceptionally well in Katsina, which is the president's own state. We're going to do very well in Jigawa. The governor is working extremely hard there. And every single northwestern state happens to be an APC state, except for Sokoto. And even in Sokoto, we're doing very, very well. You go down to the south-south, we're hitting it. We're also fighting our corner. In the same thing in the southeast, where we have two excellent governors, Governor Umahi and also the governor Hopozo Dima in Imo State. Now, the APC has 22 governors, and the PDP only has 13, and of the 13, only 8 of them are standing with Atiku. 22 versus 8 is a very, very big margin. Quite apart from that, we're likely to have the endorsement of the 5 G5 governors that are fighting Atiku from the PDP. So you now add that to the 22. That's what you call a no contest, and that's what I believe is going to happen. But we must not take anything for granted. We must continue to work hard. We must continue to focus, and we must ensure that that we go to every state, every ward, every local government area in this country to ensure that the message is heard loud and clear. That Asiwaju is coming. Asiwaju will lead. Asiwaju will take us to the promised land. That's the hope of the nation, and I believe that God will grant us that victory. I'll also add this. The PDP is a shell of its former self. This is not the PDP of Goodluck Jonathan. It's not the PDP of Obasanjo. It's not the PDP of Ahmadu Ali. The PDP has self-destructed. The PDP is a divided party, an evil party, a vessel of evil, which has totally and completely consumed itself. The PDP is a party which, by its own constitution, had promised to zone the presidency to the south and to have a power shift, and violated that, and it's created a crisis amongst them. They couldn't even keep their word. They betrayed their own governors. After all the southern governors in this country met and agreed on a power shift, everybody went home very happy with that decision. And what happened? The PDP governors, the majority of them, except for the G5, betrayed that of the convention and shifted power and decided power should stay in the north. Whereas the APC, on the other hand, the northern governors in the APC insisted that power should shift to the south in the name of equity. And that's what happened. So you can see the difference between the two. The PDP has a presidential candidate who not only betrayed the cause of the South in his party, he also insisted on not just being presidential candidate, but also insisted on having a national chairman from the North, having a DG of his presidential campaign from the North. That is the PDP of today, not the national party of before, but a regional party that simply wants to serve the interests of one part of the country at the expense of another. And that's why they're having so many difficulties. This is a party that once had Peter Obi as its running mate in 2019. And the same Peter Obi left and has now gone to the Labour Party, giving them major problems in the Southeast, which is his constituency. Those votes will be taken from the PDP, the South-South, maybe a few votes in Lagos State. But the PDP has cracked. It has exploded. It's not going anywhere. It's a knocked engine, and the leadership is the leadership of disaster. As for the Labour Party, well, I doubt they'll get 25% anywhere in the South. I doubt that even in the Southeast he'll get up to 25% in any of the states. But even assuming he does, he certainly won't get 25% in the South, in the Southwest, in any of the states there, including Lagos. He might in Lagos, but I doubt it. I doubt he'll get 25% in the South states. I doubt he'll get up to anywhere near 10% in any. They're hoping for Plateau and Benue. I can assure you they'll probably only get about 10%, 20% in each. They will not get up to 5% in any other North Central state. They will not get up to 2% of votes in the core northern states. That's the Northeast and the Northwest. So where Obi is hoping to get votes for, I don't know. Where Atiku is hoping to get votes for, I don't know. What they're hoping and praying for and consistently say is that at the end of the day, their victory will be determined by one thing and one thing alone. And that is if the Northwestern governors betray Tinubu and then say that they're going to support him instead. Well, that's never going to happen because the Northwestern governors are men of integrity. The people of the Northwest are people of integrity. They have rejected the idea of a Fulani to Fulani succession. After 8 years of Fulani man in power, you put another Fulani in power for another 8 years. That would be a dangerous thing for our country and for our people, including for the Fulani themselves. And they know this, and they have rejected that idea, and they will support a national candidate, a man that believes in Nigeria, that will protect the interests of the Fulani, the Hausa, the South, the North, the Christian, and the Muslim. And that is why we have a far better chance than anybody else. So the only place they're big is on abusing people, casting aspersions on the character of our candidate on social media, and making false claims and allegations. They're very good at that. They're very good at lying. They're very good at being deceitful. Atiku is a man that betrayed Obasanjo when we were in power. I had to attempt to walk him out of cabinet meetings on 2 separate occasions because of his betrayal of Obasanjo when we were in power. They're talking about the good things Obasanjo did. He did a lot of good things. But all along, Atiku was a snake trying to destroy him all along as his vice president. Nothing could be better described as being treacherous as that. That is his nature. He did the same thing to Goodluck Jonathan. When Jonathan assisted him so much, he betrayed Jonathan in 2015, led 5 governors out of the party. There's nothing Jonathan didn't do to get him to come back. But he ensured the downfall of Jonathan, and that's how President Buhari came in as a consequence of the betrayal of Atiku, of Jonathan by Atiku. Now, isn't it ironic? A number of years later, 5 governors have now also left him in the lurch. They will never go back to him, and they have also responded to him in that way, and he will now lose this election woefully. I could say so many things to you about Atiku Abubakar and about Obi tonight, and I intend to do that because The truth of the matter is that nobody likes to hear the truth in this country about what is being, what these people represent. But let me tell you, what is going on is this. It's a choice between light and darkness. Asiwaju presents the light. He is the light. Atiku is the darkness that seeks the darkness. And Obi is something that nobody seems to understand until he will get to power, God forbid. Then you know that IPOB is ruling this country. Why do I say so? Look at the emblem of his beer cans. He sells beer. It is the emblem of IPOB. Why do I say so? In the southeast, when he was governor in Anambra State, no non-Igbo man could own a stall in any of the markets there. For northerners and deporting northerners out of his state and non-northerners as well. When he was governor of Anambra State, he ensured that Pentecostal Christians could not even build churches there, only Catholics. He discriminated. When he was governor of Anambra State, bodies were floating into Oji River, and allegedly, as a consequence of state-sponsored terror, and people were being killed by the authorities on his orders. When he was governor of Anambra State, everybody was on strike. When he was governor of Anambra State, he was using the money, his state government money, to fund his own business. These are the things that Obi stands for. These are the things that Obi did. And that's the man that President Olusegun Obasanjo has just endorsed. It is absolutely nonsensical. Let me also add this. This is a man who has a running mate, one Dati Ahmed, who came out and said that if they were to get to power, he believes that all people that do not share his sexual views, that is to say, people that are homosexual or bisexual, should be killed. That's a very serious thing to say. It's a murderous agenda, which I think is absolutely horrendous and should be condemned by all. This is also a man that is so daft that he couldn't even know what he says half the time. Let me give you one example. He got on television and spoke about Margaret Thatcher, claiming that Margaret Thatcher, the former Prime Minister of the UK, ruled the country in the 50s. She was a member of the Labour Party, and that she helped to establish the unions. Forgetting the fact, or not knowing, in his ignorance, that Thatcher ruled the UK in the 80s. Thatcher was a Conservative, not a Labour Party member, and Thatcher actually destroyed the unions and the welfare state. That's the kind of quality of people that Obasanjo has just endorsed, and I find that totally unacceptable and utterly disgusting. That is not what Nigeria wants. This is a man, this same Dati Ahmed, who has done so many things and said so many things that are totally inexplicable. A man that when he was asked by Seun Okumbaloye on Channels Television, what do you have to offer? What is your solution in terms of to fight insecurity in the land? What did he say? I will not tell you. He said it 3 times, but we have a plan. That is the kind of dunce. These are the kind of people that have just been endorsed for the presidency of Nigeria by somebody or by some people. That is a joke. They're not going anywhere. The candidate himself is not going anywhere. The advice is not going anywhere. And Atiku is certainly not going anywhere either. Asiwaju will win this election. They said he had mental problems. They went on TV. They said he's too old. They said he doesn't speak well. They said he's sick. This is a man I just saw speaking earlier on today for no less than about 30 to 40 minutes non-stop, having just come back from out of the country and going every day from different states to different states campaigning, and you tell me that man is sick. And his speech was excellent. So I think it's enough of all these slurs that people are coming out with. Let's look at the individuals concerned. Let's look at their record. Let's look at what they have achieved, and let's judge it on that. Let's stop demonizing and telling lies, and let's stick to the truth. And we will call a spade, that Atiku would be a disaster for Nigeria, Obi would be a disaster for Nigeria, and the only hope that we have today is Asiwaju Bola Tinubu.
Oh. Chief Fani-Kayode, I must say that was a lot. But then, you would agree with me that we need to take a breather at this moment because we still have a lot to talk about. So let's take this short break. I'll be right back.
Okay.
There is always more to a story than the screaming headline. The part of a story that is not told. TVC News, I'm able to explore the many angles there are to a story, talking to stakeholders, asking the difficult questions, and digging for facts. I believe the viewers are able to make a better decision if they're well informed and understand not just a part, but the complete story. TVC News, first with breaking news.
Welcome back to Politics Tonight, and I still have with me former Minister of Aviation, Chief Fani Fani-Kayode. We're talking about factors that will shape outcome of the 2023 general election. All right, Chief, let's go on. You served in the administration of former President Olusegun Obasanjo. How will you react to this letter, his letter endorsing Peter Obi of the Labour Party?
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't quite get your full question. I think you asked me how I would react, or how I'm reacting to, or how I react to President Obasanjo's letter.
Yes.
Well, I've said a few things about that, and I'll come to that again in a minute. Well, but let me just quickly finish on Atiku, if I may, then I'll come to that. I spoke about him earlier, but let me just finish with him, then we'll come to Obasanjo and his endorsement. Atiku is a man that his spokespeople have consistently said that Asiwaju is ill and so on and so forth. Yeah, this was a man that went to Chatham House not long ago, and he got on the stage and was speaking to the people there. And as he was speaking, he was reading his text, reading his speech, and all of a sudden he cut out, blanked out, and for 1 full minute he was just looking at the speech. He couldn't say a word. And so Reno Mokri, one of his aides, got on the stage, pinched him on his backside, whispered nice things into his ears. Then he suddenly woke up and started speaking and reading his text again. That doesn't seem to me to be a very healthy man, but that's what Atiku did. Again, you have to ask yourself this very, very simple and yet very, very serious question. How can we take seriously a man that's been trying to be president since 1993? For the last 30 years, Atiku has been trying to be president of this country. That's his constitutional right to do so, but it's also indicative of an obsession that he has for the presidency. He wants to be president just for the sake of being president and for nothing else. He has a very feudal outlook, and he believes strongly that it's just his divine right to be president, which is why each time after he loses, he goes running to Dubai to seek comfort from his friends over there. Again, I go on about Atiku. This is a man that you must ask yourself this question, or ask him for us. Why is it that with all his farms, all his infrastructures, his university, and so many things that he has all over the northern part of the country, where everybody has been affected by Boko Haram and ISWAP, he has never been attacked, none of his institutions have ever been attacked? What is his link to those organizations? Is it true that he has such links with them? And precisely what does he do for them? How come they always seem to avoid, conflicts with him or anything to do with him or his properties, given the fact that he has so much up there? And what is his link to Sheikh Ahmed Gumi, who is a man that has consistently defended the kidnappers and who has insisted the government should continue to pay ransoms, even if it meant them breaking central bank and giving them all the money to get our people back? Gumi's associate has just been arrested by the DSS under suspicion of terrorism, and as the net gets tighter and tighter, I'm sure we'll hear more about that. But we have to ask precisely what is the relationship between Atiku and ISWAP and Sheikh Gumi and the gentleman in detention and Boko Haram. I'll go on about Atiku. This is a man that when Deborah, the young lady that was martyred in Sokoto and butchered, burnt alive and cut to pieces by a raging, maniacal mob, okay? They killed that woman, that young lady in cold blood, a young girl. And Atiku's aides tweeted commiserations and regrets and condemned the killing. Atiku ordered them to withdraw that condemnation, to withdraw those commiserations, and to say no, don't say a word. In other words, he basically endorsed it. And, with no remorse. Now, if he did that, which is what he did, the question you need to ask is, what is the fate of Christians under such a man? Of course, he will tell you he has nothing against Christians. But the fact of the matter is that when it mattered the most, when a young Christian girl was butchered in the north, this man said nothing. Whereas the APC, the President Buhari, spoke for all of us when he condemned the killings and said it was the wrong thing to do. And so did the Sultan of Sokoto and every other good Muslim and every other good person in this. Atiku withdrew his commiserations, and this is something that I take very personally and I hold against him. I could go on and on. Atiku has so many questions to answer. What happened in the 80s? What is his relationship with Mr. Volpi, the Italian billionaire? What happened with the 53 suitcases when he was head of customs? What really was going on? And what about this idea that he has, a very important one, about selling everything, selling the assets? The last time he was put in charge of privatization by President Olusegun Obasanjo between 1999 and 2003, he tore the place apart. Now he's telling the whole world as his main campaign issue that he's going to sell everything. And of course, when he says that, you know what that means. He'll sell it to his friends, one of whom has just stolen all the shareholders' the money in a bank that he used to own, who is the main person running the Atiku campaign, by the way. Atiku's campaign is being run by a notorious businessman. We all know who he is. He's a dangerous man. Now, this is a man that wants to privatize. And what do they do when they privatize? Let me finish, please. What do they do when they privatize? They've done it in the past. They privatize everything. They go there, they asset strip, they strip everything up, sell everything, and leave the company dead, and it never functions again. And that's what he wants to come and do all over again. He did it before, and now he wants to do it on mass scale. That is what he wants to come and do. And by the way, his friends in the private sector, who he's so enamored with, and who are backing him, if you go and look at the list of people that are owing at AMCON, that are actually debtors, massive and shameful and disgraceful debtors. 90% of them
Fani-Kayode, we need to move on to other matters at this point. I'd like you to respond to the question I asked earlier. We need to move on to other issues at this point. I would like it. Yes.
You asked me about. Yes, you asked me about. So I'm coming to that right now, and if I may, I'll touch on that now. Like I told you earlier. I think it's an unfortunate, and like I told you earlier, I think it's unfortunate and totally unacceptable for President Obasanjo to endorse a man like Peter Obi. And I've given my reasons already. The most important thing to understand about him is that what you see is not what you get. If you put an Obi in power, you are going to put IPOB in power. If you want an Igbo president, and there's every reason that we ought to have an Igbo president, and it's, we've never had one, and I'm one of those that always supported that, then let it be that that Igbo president emerges from one of the more sensible parties, like APC, or any other party that's a truly national party. A president of Igbo extraction that is a Nigerian, not a president that is Igbo and is there only for the Igbos. This will be a very dangerous... Now, let me tell you what I find the most disturbing about this man. This is a man that has refused to condemn those that are killing and butchering innocent people, security agents, soldiers, policemen, DSS officers in the East, known as unknown gunmen. And when he was asked why would he condemn them, he said he won't condemn it because he doesn't know who is behind it. Well, we all know who is behind it. He knows who's behind it. They are his friends, and that's why he can't condemn them. And that is what an Obi presidency would offer, more and more of such tribal, ethnic, vicious carnage and the killing of so many people that are not from that part of the country. That's not the kind of Igbo person we want. We have great Igbo material, like Umahi, Ugwai, and so many others. I could mention so many that would be great presidents at some time in the future. But right now, the issue is power shift. Not power shifting to the southeast necessarily, but power shift from the north to the southern part of the country. That's the right thing to do, the proper thing to do, and the only man in the south that can beat Atiku hands down is Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, which is why we're supporting him. So that endorsement that Obasanjo gave, I'm afraid, is very good for only one thing, and that's the dustbin. But most importantly, it's inconsequential. It goes nowhere. It will have no effect whatsoever on this election or this campaign, and we shall prevail.
All right. The APC recently lost the election in your home state. What impact will this have on the presidential election coming up in February?
I'm sorry, you said the APC, I didn't quite get that.
The APC recently lost the governorship election in your home state. So I'm asking you, what impact do you think this will have on the presidential election coming up in February?
Okay, thank you. You said in Osun State, I believe you said Osun.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I think you said Osun State. Now that's an interesting question. It's a very good question. Thanks for asking it. Because Osun is my ancestral home. Though I'm actually a Lagosian, but Osun Ile-Ife is my ancestral home. And I've lived in the north for 22 years. So I know these places quite well. Now, before I talk about the effect it will have on us, let me make one very important point. Osun State is a state which has probably 60%, 60 to 40, I believe, possibly 50-50 split between Christians and Muslims. Yet in that state, the PDP fielded a ticket of Christian, okay? Both of them were Christians. The candidate, that is Ademola Adeleke, and then Kola, his running mate, who's a good friend of mine. They're both Christians. And this is a state in which we have a split between Christians and Muslims. But we live in peace. And when they eventually emerged as the winners of that, nobody complained. Nobody started, Muslims didn't start shouting that heavens were about to fall and they wanted to Christianize the state. And neither did the Christians say, oh, we're now going to Christianize the state. That's how it should be. So for those criticizing the Muslim ticket of our candidate, they need to understand that it's time for us to put such sentiments aside and begin to focus on the main issue, which is national development. Asiwaju has done more for Christians in Lagos State than any other in terms of giving land, stopping churches from being knocked down, and so on and so forth. He's done so many. His wife is a Christian, his children are Christians, and he's done exceptionally well. And he has also helped NASFAT, and he has helped other peaceful Muslim organizations to develop and do what they're doing in those areas. So Osun State is a test case, and I think it's a good good example in that respect. However, I believe the wrong party won. And you ask me, what was the impact? Well, first of all, the matter is still in court. We're still hoping to get the state back, and I sincerely hope that we do. But it's not going to have any impact because these are local issues they were talking about and fighting over. This time round, we have a son of the Southwest who sees himself firstly and foremost as a Nigerian who happens to come from the Southwest and who has proved himself in the Southwest with massive development. I tell you this, the sons and daughters of Osun, the sons and daughters of Ekiti, the sons and daughters of Ondo, the sons and daughters of Ogun State and Lagos and Oyo and everywhere else in the Southeast, we will get no less than 80 to 90% of votes in the Southwest from both Christians and Muslims for Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, simply because it is our time and it is his time. And for the last 7 to 8 years, he has held this country together. You know how he's done that? He has held the bridge between the North and the South. If it had not been for him resisting the temptation of supporting Yoruba separatist groups, this country would no longer be in existence anymore. Let's give it a chance. There will be a power shift. This country is not owned by anybody. It's owned by all of us, and our friends in the North will honor their word. Many of us didn't believe it would happen. Well, we saw it with our very eyes. It's happened. For the northern governors in the APC, men of honor and distinction, to concede power and to stand by that and to be going everywhere with him, up and down over the country, that's a signal to the Southwest that they will do their best and support their son. So what happened in Osun has absolutely no consequence for us. We're going to win this election, and we're going to win it hands down in all the various zones in this country.
Chief Fani-Kayode, now let's talk about you for a minute. Many analysts have accused you of moving from one party to another. So I would like to know, when will this stop for FFK to have a lasting political base?
I'm sorry, you said analysts said what? Sorry.
I want us to talk about you for a minute. Many
so
analysts
one
have...
party to another?
Yes, I've accused you of...
One party to another?
Yes. So when will you have a lasting political base?
Moving one party to another, yeah. A lasting political base? First and foremost, I think that if you look at all the main players in this country, very few, probably about only 5%, have not changed parties. Atiku has changed parties more than he has used toilet paper over the last 30 years, and certainly this dispensation. Obi has changed parties about 4 or 5 times. Every single one, apart from maybe 1 or 2. Even our candidate has transformed from one party to another, from AD to AC, and then to APC, and so on and so forth. It's an evolution. Politics is an evolution. And when you talk about base and so on and so forth, it's all about influence. The day I run for election in this country, and I will at some point or the other, at a very high level, you'll know the kind of base I have. But I have a voice which is irresistible and is powerful. And I have a sword in my hand, a spiritual sword, which cuts my enemies and silences them when I decide to unleash it. That is my strength, the power of God. That is my voice. And I'm influencing people left, right, and center with what I say and what I do. And that's the most important thing. I was in the APC briefly at the formative stage before it was even named APC. I left the PDP for 9 months. I went back to the PDP when I realized that it was becoming a dustbin of, and I fought for them throughout like nobody did in 2015, and I gave APC hell during that election. For the next 4 or 5 years, I gave the President Buhari and this government even more hell, and I was adjudged as being the top critic and the most effective, even greater than Wike, greater than Fayose, and more powerful than even. I was becoming a vessel of deceit and treachery. I was going nowhere, and that would end up ensuring that another northerner by the name of Atiku will be the candidate and will try and destroy everybody from within. I jumped ship and joined forces with the moderates like Mai Malabuni, Yaya Bello, Zulum, and so many other in the APC, and I was with them for 1 year before I decided to now join the party. That's my legacy, and I've been proved right because they've done everything they said they'd do. We're fighting for core values, equity, power shift, equality of ethnic nationalities, equality in terms of religion.
All right.
And I go wherever that is offered.
Thank you very much.
Today is not offering that, and I've been vindicated by my choice, and I assure you that when the time comes, you'll know precisely where my base is. I've lived in the North for the last 22 years. I registered here. I'm very proud of living in the North, here in Abuja.
Thank you very much, Chief Fani-Kayode. Thank you very much, Chief Fani-Kayode, Director of Special Media Projects, Special Media Operations of the Tinubu Shetima Presidential Campaign Council. Thank you so much for coming on Politics Tonight.
Thank you very much, Imoke. Shalom. Thanks for having me. God be with you.
All right. And thank you very much for watching. That marks the end of today's episode of Politics Tonight. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Goodbye.
In the month of January 2023, the 4th of January is dedicated to World Braille Day to celebrate the inventor Louis Braille. On 6th January, it will be 2 years when U.S.